So if I may, just to step back for one moment, just talking about hate violence against the Hindu community, I mean, we can first of all go back to the early 1900s and some of the anti-Hindu, anti-Indian laws that were instituted in the country, particularly states like Washington, in California. You had the Bellingham riots in the state of Washington. You fast forward to the 1980s, and you had the horrific dot buster gangs that were terrorizing the Hindu community in New Jersey. Now, interestingly, hate crimes against Hindus as a specific category wasn't actually even recorded by the FBI until 2015, when there was an initiative by HEF and a number of other civil rights organizations to add specific categories to the tracking by the FBI of hate violence. So there was an anti-Sikh category, anti-Hindu category, anti-Buddhist, anti-Arab category that was added. So the violence has definitely been there. The anti-Hindu hate has definitely been there. It's being recorded more recently, better, but it's still not being recorded properly. That deals with, number one, the fact that law enforcement agencies aren't really aware of what Hinduphobia looks like or what anti-Hindu violence looks like. And I think, to Pushpata's point, that report does a great job of helping to lay out what Hinduphobia actually is and what it encompasses. Um, and if you look at how other communities are viewing some of the recent violence, I think it's not that they may look at this as lesser than. I think they just haven't been aware of it. And there have been killings, murders of Hindus. Srinivas Kuchibhotla a few years ago was killed in Kansas. So we see violence committed, severe violence committed against Hindus, and a track record of that. So I wouldn't say that people view it as less than. I think they just not are not as aware of it, and how it's happening. I think the other thing to
Right.
point out is that there's a difference now. What we're seeing is that there's a perception that anti-minority violence is always committed by whites or white nationalists or extreme on the American right, extremists on the American right. But what we're seeing now is there's a trend of violence being committed from those that are within the larger Indian subcontinental diaspora. So the Khalistani groups have become more active. Both the Queen's Temple attack as well as the Fremont incident were committed ostensibly by pro-Khalistani activists. So that's, I think, another important trend to keep in mind in terms of how the violence, what we see of the violence today.